Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, May 7th. I'm Wayne Pratt. Details are slowly emerging about plans by St. Louis City and County to reopen. Mayor Lyda Krewson says bars and restaurants will be able to open May 18th. Staff may be required to wear masks, and plexiglass dividers to separate customers and cashiers are likely. County Executive Sam Page says any business wanting to reopen May 18th will be required to make employees wear masks. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says employers should be called out if they do not institute public health protections at their workplaces. He says employers should be following CDC guidelines that protect workers from contracting COVID-19 while on the job. Pritzker is calling on residents and workers to report any employer for failing to follow guidelines. Missouri is receiving $66 million for child care from the Federal CARES Act. The money will allow low-income families looking for work to be eligible for 90 days of benefits through December. The state says families with incomes up to 215% of the poverty level and with a documented child care need will have access to subsidies for transitional health care. $1.5 million is coming to Missouri to buy shelf-stable food. The federal money will be divided among the state's 6 regional food banks that help more than 1,000 pantries, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, or other meal-serving locations. Here are the numbers. Missouri is reporting 9,100 COVID-19 cases. That's up roughly 200 from the previous day. The state reports 396 deaths. In Illinois, there are more than 68,000 positive results, up around 2,000 in 24 hours. There have been nearly 3,000 deaths in the state. In just a few minutes, we will examine plans to keep moviegoers and theater patrons safe once those venues start to reopen. As we mentioned, some specifics are starting to come out about plans to reopen the St. Louis City and County economies May 18th. But as St. Louis Public Radio's Corinne Ruff reports, many businesses say it's still too soon to welcome customers into their stores.
Businesses that want to reopen on May 18th will be required to make employees wear face masks, and they'll be allowed to refuse service to customers who do not. St. Louis regional officials plan to announce more rules for businesses this week. But Mo Costello, owner of Mochabees, says she doesn't yet feel comfortable letting customers into her cafe near Tower Grove Park.
We're going to continue to try to put people over money because that's most important. And, we'll gently move forward when it feels as safe as possible.
Costello says her business will stick with curbside pickup orders only, at least through the end of the month. I'm Corinne Ruff, St. Louis Public Radio.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says communities of color do not have vital resources needed to survive the pandemic.
Because of decades of disparities in healthcare access and delivery, we've seen the worst effects of this pandemic fall disproportionately upon the backs of the communities of color in our state.
Pritzker also says 60% of Latino residents in Illinois have tested positive for COVID-19, which is nearly 3 times the average among other demographic groups. To address the disparity, the governor says state government is offering free hotel rooms to those who need to leave their homes because of an infection. It is also providing welcoming centers for immigrant communities needing assistance. The number of Missourians applying for unemployment remains at near record levels. As St. Louis Public Radio's Kay Petrin reports, people who need help with their applications are having trouble reaching the state's overburdened Department of Labor.
More than 200,000 Missourians received unemployment payments in mid-April. Hannah Priest was not one of those. She made a mistake when she applied in March. She realized it was wrong, but she says she couldn't get a hold of anyone to change her application.
I'd call every other day, and no matter what time of the day I called, it said that Everyone was busy, and it was so busy that you couldn't even get onto the wait line to be answered.
Eventually, she says she found a direct number for someone who helped her fix the problem. New applications have slowed since March, but department representatives said last month that they were still handling more than 100,000 inquiries a day. I'm Kay Petrin, St. Louis Public Radio.
The low gas prices are expected to increase as more communities reopen their economies. Patrick DeHaan, GasBuddy.com's head of petroleum analysis, says gas is currently around $1.10 a gallon cheaper in the region compared to a year ago. DeHaan says there have been drastic price drops before, but nothing to this degree.
As a result of the coronavirus, we have seen demand drop by, in some cases, over 50%. In just a few weeks. So there's really no comparison that I can make that we've ever seen anything similar to this.
DeHaan says prices in St. Louis could jump between 25 and 45 cents a gallon by July 4th. The coronavirus has stopped people in the region from going out to have a good time. That includes going to the movies, which has hit theater operators hard. As St. Louis Public Radio's Chad Davis reports, they are eager to jumpstart their businesses with safety measures.
St. Louis Cinema's owner Harmon Mosley has no idea when he can reopen the Chase Park Plaza Theater and MX Movies and Bar. But he's trying to come up with a plan in the coming weeks just in case he can open up in time for summer blockbusters.
How does that work in the time of coronavirus? So it's a tricky thing to figure out at the moment.
Like theater owners across the country, Mosley hopes revenue from summer movies make up for lost business over the last few months. He says once officials lift stay-at-home orders, he'll have new policies to keep patrons and employees safe.
We're going to try to figure out how we're going to maintain the 6 feet of social distancing in the auditorium and how that'll work. And how we can be as touchless as possible in all of our transactions with the concession and ticketing.
In Belleville, Illinois, Steve Bloomer, owner of the Skyview Drive-In Movie Theater, is also making plans. The theater is planning to reopen Friday after getting the all-clear from Illinois officials. Bloomer says he'll space vehicles apart and close concession stands for customers. Instead, they'll be able to order and pick up food at a table. Staff will also frequently sanitize portable restrooms. Bloomer says the movie business faces challenges, but he never imagined it would be in jeopardy so soon.
There was talk that AMC might go bankrupt. The largest movie company in the world may go bankrupt. It's hard to predict. I mean, 2 months ago, would you think we'd be having this conversation? No.
Bloomer says he already has films lined up for the next several weeks. But if studios continue to delay movie premieres, he'll have to continue to play older films.
I think people would just to get out of the house, see some of these movies again on the big screen rather than watching it on their 60-inch flat screen TV at home.
Bloomer says the theater is expected to be open every day of the week this summer. I'm Chad Davis, St. Louis Public Radio.
Leaders of local theater companies are also waiting for officials to lift restrictions on gatherings. But before they reopen, they have to figure out new safety procedures. As St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin reports, the Kranzberg Arts Foundation has developed a plan it hopes will make audiences feel comfortable upon returning.
The next time you go out to see live theater, things will look and feel a lot different. On the way in, you'll scan your ticket without handing it to anyone. You won't have to share your armrest with anybody because the next person might be 6 feet away. And forget about mingling with other patrons in the lobby at intermission. At least that's how it'll be at venues run by Kranzberg Arts Foundation, like the Grandel Theater in Grand Center and Marcel Theater in Midtown. Kranzberg's coronavirus safety protocols cover everything from the box office to backstage. Executive Director Chris Hansen says he'd like to see all theater groups agree to shared safety policies to build trust with audiences.
The public needs a general sense of safety and well-being in all arts and culture venues, because if they go to one and they have a bad experience, the psychological impact of that probably will prevent them from going to another.
Other precautions will include daily temperature tests for cast and crew and hand-washing stations. Hansen recently shared these steps with a group of St. Louis theater leaders who have formed a task force to plot out the shape of pandemic-era live theater. Andrea Hoshin is the Midwest Director for the National Actors and Stage Managers Union, Actors Equity. She cautioned the theater task force that the stakes for reopening are high. Hoshin said that if audience members don't feel safe on their first visit back, they may not return.
Because the one thing we absolutely do not want is to start this process early in an eagerness to get back to work and shoot ourselves in the foot and kill theater for good.
The Kranzberg will begin training sessions on its new procedures this month for its staff and the staff of companies who perform at its venues. The soonest they may reopen is June 1st. But Hansen says venues won't open the doors again until it's safe to do so, and audiences are ready to walk through them again. I'm Jeremy Goodwin, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our David Casares edited that report and the one from Chad Davis. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt. From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this has been The Gateway.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.